Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Jan Erickson, and I am jacked up on Benadryl. No joke. Like, I have severe allergies, and I've been taking so much goddamn Benadryl. I might be a little bit loose tonight, but, anyways, today is Wednesday. It's Worldview Wednesday, and we kind of talk about shit that's going on in the world, obviously. That pertains to the name Worldview Wednesday. So, today I want to talk about the stupid conspiracies against drag queens. There is actual legit real legislation being divvied out right now in against cross-dressing and drag queens, and what this is sort of like the foundation and the underbelly of transphobia. Essentially, it really does directly connect to that, because this is where it starts. It starts with this sort of legislation against labeling drag shows as morally abhorrent and a threat to children, and then this is going to slowly support anti-trans legislation. We're gonna get into the nitty-gritty of that. I do have some things to say about drag shows in particular, because we're gonna get into it. Anyways, so good to see everybody. I literally have a sunspot in my frame of vision, not because I'm directly staring at the sun per se, but because one day out of the year, 2 days out of the year, 2 or 3 days out of the year, I am actually living in a place where I get to see the sun set below the horizon of the ocean, and it's such a tiny little space of the ocean that I can see from my living room. So tiny that you have to squint and look into the blinds of the window. So today's kind of one of those days. So I was looking at the sun set below the horizon. And I'm obviously not trying to say I stare into the sun as a hobby. Someone's gonna clip that and be like, look at Jan staring at the sun like a moron. No, it's nice to watch the sunset when I can actually see it. Today was kind of one of those days. There's still a marine layer to the ocean, so I wasn't quite able to see it drop super below the horizon this year like I have been in the past. And if you don't know what a marine layer is, it's just a layer of sea fog that you have the horizon of the ocean, and then you have the marine layer that kind of sits above it, so you don't exactly get to see that defined cut sun disappearing below the horizon. There's still some clouds in the way, but still amazing, and sort of a signifier to me that spring is on the way, summer's on the way. And if any of you don't know my personality very much, I particularly love summer. I love hot weather. I love hot beach weather. I love swimsuits, bikinis, whatever. I love that time of year. I do appreciate some people who are very much into winter years or fall and wearing layers and things like that, but I love to be sun out, tits out, and on my merry way in the sort of summery way. So before we get started on our topic tonight, I would like to participate in the chat room, hang out with everybody. Like I said, I've been taking so much Benadryl. Oh my god. So the place I live in right now, there's a certain species of pine trees that this time of year, these pine trees give off dust, a green yellowish dust, to sort of inseminate other trees and make baby trees. So it literally is tree sperm. It straight up is tree sperm, and my car is covered in it. It's not just like a little sprinkle of like yellow dust. Everything's covered in it. And recently, the weather has been like super windy and stormy, so it's blowing all that shit off the trees, and I'm highly allergic to it. So much that I can't even crack my window in my house because if any tiny little bit like comes in and infiltrates my nasal cavity, I'm dead. Straight up. And even then, even if I entrap myself into my home with no outside air source whatsoever, I still suffer a very high humidity place. And inside my house is mold spores. I mean, it's just natural. Like, I live in a super fucking densely humidified place. There's no fighting it. I actually have a very industrial grade, like $200 dehumidifier just so that I can thrive normally in my house. So, anyways, enough about me and my allergies and my sun gazing. I guess that's my personal update. Let's see what's going on in the house. Let's see. If you haven't already, please like the live stream and share it with your friends. Again, tonight's topic is going to be the conspiracies against drag queens, and we're gonna like talk about it and dissect it and find out what the problem is. I don't know, like normal, rational people, unlike most people in the world right now who are just like, oh, drag queens are bad. That's it. Case closed. They're wrong. Anyways. I don't know how I lost my music. Anyways. So, what do we got here? Low-key Legion, I'm here to check it out. Saw you posting on Morg's live chat the other night. Thank you so much for coming. Good to see you. We welcome new people. Tyler EZ, thank you so much for coming. And right, like, we welcome everybody, but please don't be mean. Anyways, Laura LaFleur, good to see you. Good to see you, honey. We got Rebecca Blanchard. Good to see you. Thank you so much for coming. Tyler Easy, thank you so much. Mistress Angelica, thank you for coming. Hyperion Frequency, Seymour, thank you for coming. Always a pleasure to see ya. That's your name, right? Was that you? So we got Hope, good to see you. Lisa Zawacki, good to see you. Was it you or Exploring the Holos that was Seymour? I'm so sorry. Honestly, there are so many people with like different usernames and stuff across the board. I get so confused as yeah, tonight will be lit. Seriously, I see your like icon though. And I know I can recognize people that way. Mark, thank you so much for coming. Mark is one of our moderators. Lee Seymour. Yeah, I thought so. Thank you. I'm like, sometimes I'm right about stuff, and I'm just like, I still have that thing in the back of my head, like, what if you're fucking it up? What if you're fucking it up? And you're like, not getting it right. Anyways. Hello, dear Revenant. Good to see you. Cassidy, our royal lurker. Thank you so much. And, yes, Mark is awesome. Mark, I need to get started on my ASMR channel. Like, I really want to do pure ASMR, and I keep putting it on the back burner, and then Mark comes out with, like, this beautiful ASMR educational thing. I'm not trying to go the same route per se, but I do want to do ASMR, and that really, like, puts it in my head, like, hey, do it, do it, do it. Oh, Rebecca Blanchard, thank you so much. I appreciate that super chat so much. Thank you so much. Thanks for all your content, Jan. I love it and am grateful at Astra. Yes, at Astra. At Astra. So like I said, tonight we're going to be talking about the recent conspiracy theories from the right-winged media against drag queens and why this anti-drag legislature is coming into fruition. And it is a real thing, honestly. Honest to God. Like, I would not come together here and talk about this if this was just, like, something that's very hyperbolic. It's really concerning how radical this sort of, Christian nationalist mentality is coming about. And I have to admit, as a non-binary trans person, I'm concerned for my safety. And the safety of other non-binary trans children. So, anyways, good to see you all. Still here in my brand new setup. You know, you can see more of my bedroom here. You can see my bed in the back, and I tried to throw a sheet over it so that it seems presentable. We are going to wait just a little bit. We're going to wait a little bit to allow people some time. We're going to be charitable because some people don't get the notifications that the live stream is starting right away, kind of like how other people do. It kind of takes a minute. So we're offering some grace period. Yeah, Hyperion frequency is so right. So, like, we're kind of getting kicked off a little bit on the discussion of legislature against drag queens because essentially it's like very loose legislature about cross-dressing and things like that according to the whatever norm that these people are presenting. And so from the perspective of the norm that they're presenting to them, it's like, you know, they're telling people that they can't present the way that they want to because, you know, it's weird. It's like this idea, like, if you're different from me, and this seems so elementary, honestly. Like, to me personally, this seems super, like, ABC elementary, like, ABC 1, 2, 3, like, you learn in kindergarten, like, you learned in kindergarten, you learn in, like, preschool, whatever, to be nice to people. And it comes back to this stupid elementary idea, like, if you're different from me, if you're different from what I understand you should be, then that makes me mad and I have to treat you like shit. So, like, as Hyperion frequency says, like, it's like they're saying people that you have, it's like telling people you have to act and present the way I tell you to, or I will destroy your life. And it's that sort of moment where people go from, I don't understand this, to, I'm gonna be violent. that's the area I'm interested in. That's the area I want to poke at and pry at and look at more closely. The area between I don't know what this is to therefore I'm angry and I'm going to dehumanize and be violent about it. Like, I don't understand this, so this is making me violent. That's the sort of process where I'm like, what is happening here? And honestly, this is not a new conversation. This is not something that I'm just starting to talk about now. I've already talked about these sort of things. It's just, I find I'm stuck in the situation where I constantly have to repeat these things. And I think I've lamented before in some way. I've been out of the closet as a trans person for almost 3 years now. Like, I'm like around 2.5 years now of being out of the closet, super open trans. And I find that I'm already tired. I'm already tired with the battle of narratives, the battle of what means what. I'm already tired of explaining the ABCs, 1, 2, 3s of who trans people are, what trans means, and why they're not the sole enemy to your children. It's you know that silly, like, sort of very exacerbated, dramatic, like, think of the children. Like, this is a very silly conversation about that. And that's what we're kind of diving into with this issue of anti-drag queen legislature, because it's like, well, just keep the drag queens away from the children at all costs, even though there's no further conversation beyond that. And I can see where, like, in some ways, people who recognize this, on the one hand, they feel like they're sort of like talking to an echo chamber, and it's good. It's good to, I don't mean that in a derogatory way. Like, it's good to surround yourself as a content creator with people who vibe and understand what the community is all about. But also, where was I going? Oh my god, I have brain fart. I told you, the Benadryl. Somebody tell me what I was just saying. I feel so silly. Anyways. Oh, think of the children. Think of the children. Like, you're thinking of, yeah. Yeah, so I'm tired of reiterating the basics of trans issues. It's like the ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. I have been open, out of the box trans for a while, and already I'm tired, and I haven't even started yet. And I can, you know, like, on the one hand, I can see where, like, people are tired of this conversation, but on the other hand, it's like, there's still a battle to be fought. There's still a battle to be won. So it's easy to talk about the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s with people within my community that understand it, and that's good. But I feel like sometimes I'm in a bit of an echo chamber, not because it's bad that you're all part of this community and agreeing with this and understanding this, but because it's never really penetrating through to the people that don't understand it, and that's like where most of the change is made. It's that area where people really honestly who don't understand transness, who don't understand transness. Is that a word? I don't think so. Drag queens, gender fluidity, things like that. Like, they don't want to understand it. They don't want to have the ABC 1, 2, 3 conversations at all. They don't want to do that. Because if they go that direction and they progress in that way, they might just find that their identity, personal identity associated with their gender, might not be as foundational as they think it is. And it's not to say that, like, everybody who's a transphobe is trans themselves. Maybe for some people it's like that. But it's just there's the area where people who are against trans people who are against drag queens, they experience a deep level of discomfort, and instead of truly sitting down and asking where it comes from and why it's about, they automatically shift it to suit their narrative, to feed into the fear-mongering that they have, perpetuate the fear, and they take it to an area where people are most sensitive about. And who is more sensitive about anything in the world than, children? Like, I'm concerned about children, you're concerned about children, of course we're concerned about children. But when it comes to these ABC 1, 2, 3 conversations, it's like, I can't even get past the point where it's like, look, drag queens and trans people are not out here to sabotage the development of children and influence them in any way. And it just, you can't even say that without that even springing off forward into this sort of this anecdote of just like, well, did you hear about this case? Did you hear about that case? Did you hear about this instance? Did you hear about this example? I hate that conversation of just like, well, did you hear about this atrocity and that atrocity? And then you have to combat that with like, well, did you hear about this and that counters that? Like, already I'm sort of like tired, but where there's a part of me that doesn't want to have these conversations, there's another part that realizes this is kind of like the necessary part of being, at least for me in my personal opinion, like a Hyperion creator. Like, you really do kind of have to, in a way, exercise a lot of patience, and sometimes more patience than you actually want to have. And that's kind of like a weird conversation about Shadow, about how, like, some certain conversations make me really angry. And, like, for example, if somebody's like, there's only 2 genders, that stating that in itself isn't what makes me angry, because I know that's not true. Obviously, there's not 2 genders. But what makes me angry is that this person is unwilling to look beyond that. Like, they're unwilling to think outside of that. That's actually what makes me angry. I interpret it in my head as like, these people are being so stupid. Like, I can't even talk about this because people are so dumb. It's really difficult to have these conversations. And then on the other hand, I have experienced very few gems of minds in this life where if you take the time to explain things, they're actually genuinely interested, and it takes them a while to understand things, but they get it. There's people that are interested in what I'm saying and what to do and the explanations. I have to blow my nose. I'm sorry. I'm just like clogged. Yeah. Yeah, things take a lot of patience to explain. And one thing about being a Hyperion creator I've learned is like, in the very beginning when I was making videos and live streams, I thought that if I talked about a certain subject and I stated the facts, then that was sort of like the monument to what I think and what I feel and how it portrays or how it relates to Hyperianism. And that's that. Like, it's the monument. Like, you say it, you live it, you breathe it, you leave it there. But the way that social media works is like, not everybody's going to go back in retrospect and look at your old video, right? So honestly, in some cases you need to explain it again in a more up-to-date method. Maybe you've learned something new. That's why it kind of not super irritates. It's just, actually, it's kind of funny. Like, sometimes I'll get somebody who nitpicks when they come into this channel, and they'll be like folding their arms and like stomping their feet and like, oh, I came here to learn about Hyperianism. I don't know what this live stream is about. Like, what does this have to do with drag queens? This isn't Hyperianism. How does this do with Hyperianism? And it's just not like that as a Hyperion creator, at least in my opinion. Not only is there the foundational aspects of Hyperionism, which I'm happy to discuss, but there's a very real world application that a lot of people don't want to acknowledge or identify with. And I find the subjects where people comment, I just want to learn about the foundations. I don't want to hear what you have to say. What I'm hearing is that they just want to select specific information within Hyperionism that supports their own cognitive bias. So when we like me and other Hyperions, me as a Hyperion, as a non-binary trans person Hyperion, when I talk about these issues, people get angry about it. It kind of hits home to their shadow. It's like an area where it's like, well, it's almost like they're saying to me, I was hoping Hyperionism wouldn't support this, and because it does, I have to nitpick about that. Does that make sense? When Hyperionism is very celebratory of people's like differences and things. And that's what it boils down to with the ABCs and 1 to 3s. Cis people and these right-wing conspiracy people, these Christian nationalists, they don't like being considered different. They're always used to being the basis of neutrality and normativity and just... Normativity? Is that a thing? Anyways. Normality. There we go. Neutrality, normality, they're used to being that figure of neutrality. So when you call them something like cis or white or whatever, they get really angry. Like, oh, I don't like being seen as different, even though they are happy to use so many descriptors to differentiate other people outside of that norm. I hope that makes sense. Hey! Oh my goodness, Philip! Good to see you, Philip! I hope you're feeling better, my friend. Who do we see? Laura, Vika G. Yeah, right? So if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer that, or if you just have comments or whatever. We're just gonna wait just a little tiny bit longer, and then I'm going to go over to viewing some articles and some videos about the situation with drag queens. Actually, I need to pee. I need to pee. Talk amongst yourselves. Talk amongst yourselves, or Jan needs to pay. And I will remember to unmute my mic. Look, I remembered to unmute my mic. Anyways. I'm sitting on my yoga ball. Yoga ball. Bouncy bounce. To pee or not to pee? That is the question. Always to pee. Mark says, BRB must chase my chillin' to bed. Chase him! Chase him! Get him! Get that chillin' to bed. It's bedtime, honey. It's time to go to sleep. I want to be a dad someday. Seriously. I really do want to be a dad someday. Anyways, Dear Revenant said, I remember I was watching Morgue one time and my boss told me to turn it off. I mean, if you're... if you're supposed to be working, yeah, that's good advice. But if it's like on your leisurely time, fuck them. The most important thing is that I remember to unmute. Yes, it's true. It's like one button, like right here on my mic. Thought I was going to trip you out too much so you wouldn't work? I mean... There's so much understanding of myself as a monad where I really don't want to work, but then I remember I literally have to function in this holo, so I go to work. I work. You can listen to music. Yeah, Kim drew the line, says, should I order Domino's and feel like death tomorrow? Probably. I have such a love-hate relationship with Domino's because on the one hand, it's not the best pizza in the world, but on the other hand, it's literally the closest pizza place to my place, and when I have the munchies, I mean... And when you have the munchies and you don't want to fucking go out, you don't want to make dinner, you don't want to dirty dishes, I kind of lean to Domino's. Ordered cheese bread. Cassie said, oh, Cassie, hello. Do it, Kim. Order cheese bread. Order the cheese bread, Kim. I like to get a medium, like, 2-topping pizza. You know what? I actually ordered from Domino's recently, and I didn't do a regular pizza. I did chicken, bacon, and barbecue sauce. It's really good. Dear Revenant has Vietnamese pho. Vietnamese pho. That's good. Everybody's like, order it, Kim. Order the breadsticks and the pizza. Order the cheesy bread and the 2-liter bottle of root beer. So we're so evil here. Order the breadsticks. Get the cheesy extra cheese pizza. Get the pepperoni with olive. I'll tell you what, the older I get, the more my stomach can't handle fast food. Nice barbecue chicken. Does Domino's have vegan crust, or is it Pizza Hut? I forget. I wonder if it's Domino's. Because I swear, was it Pizza Hut or Domino's where, like, you can get a pretty decent, like, cheeseless pizza with toppings on it. Oh, I think it's like thin crust or something. Like, if you get the thin crust with just sauce and, like, toppings, like, it's decent. I mean, it's a nice meal. And it doesn't leave you feeling, like, nasty and sick. You know how sometimes you eat fast food or, like, takeout food? You eat it, and then you have, like, the regrets of eating, and your stomach's like, why? Why? Why did you put us through this? They're all gonna laugh at you. They're all gonna laugh at you. Has anybody ever seen, like, the classic Carrie? With that crazy-ass mother? They're all gonna laugh at you. Look at you and your dirty pillows. It's really funny. I'm sorry. It is. Should we get started? Should we get, rolling on our shiznit, my friends? Shiznit? Who the hell says that anymore? Oh god, I'm such a millennial. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get some purple. Let's get the purple. Let's get the demon faces in the chat. Yeah, what's up? What's up? Papa John's? Okay. Probably. Okay. Let's go to lay viewing. Oh, don't you dare. Don't you dare do that thing. No! Oh my god, it's doing that thing. Oh no. It's doing that thing where my mouse cursor is disappearing. Stop it! There we go. God damn! Okay. So I got a lot of links open right now. And originally I kind of take the format where like I already formulate something super fucking profound and orderly and present it to you. But recently with Worldview Wednesday, it's like I really kind of want to take you on the journey with me of like investigating, researching, and just looking at what the hell is going on in the world. So I want to make less of like a final statement and more of just an invitation of let's look at this shit. Let's talk about it. So I've opened up a plethora of links. And this is sad. So this is something that's happening very recently. And it's got a lot of layers to it. So let's talk about this. Let's look into this. And sorry, I have to periodically mute the microphone to sneeze and cough because like the allergies are so bad. Anyways. Oh hey. Hey Elise, good to see you. Yoga Nature, good to see you. And everybody joining, good to see you. Our royal lurkers who wish not to participate in chat but do wish to view the content. Good to see you. And yeah, if you have not liked the live stream or shared it, please do so. So, anyways, let's read this article. At least 9 GOP led state legislatures want to restrict or criminalize drag shows. Why? Let's find out why. Wendy Williams. Wendy Williams? Like the Wendy. The Wendy Williams. Okay. Wendy Williams has owned her bar, Club Temptation, in Cookeville, Tennessee, for 6 years. She regularly holds space for drag performances, including drag brunches and bingo. Williams also performs drag herself. Really? Where? What? Is this the Wendy Williams or is this like... I feel like I'm gonna get claimed for watching this. Okay, anyways. So, Wendy Williams says our drag shows are popular. It's an important part of the entertainment factor of the bar, she said. But this very kind of entertainment has become a target in Williams' state of Tennessee. The Tennessee House's Criminal Justice Subcommittee recently heard testimony on a proposed bill that would categorize drag shows or male or female impersonators who provide entertainment that appeals to a pruent-ish... Pruent? What the fuck is that? Male or female impersonators who provide entertainment that appeals to a pruent interest. I am learning a new word today. What is this word now? Pruent, having or encouraging an excessive interest in sexual matters. Male or female impersonators who provide entertainment that appeals to a pruent interest. Okay, look, let's be very clear. There are drag shows. There are drag artists, entertainers, things like that. Some drag shows and drag entertainment is definitely mature. It is meant for a more mature and older audience. But that's not the case across the board. There's plenty of drag shows, drag entertainment that's just is family friendly. It's just entertainment, it's comedic, it's campy, and it's fun. But I do agree there are some drag performances that literally are meant for an adult audience. And what's interesting to me right away with this situation is that straight cis people are already taking the moment to define themselves as the norm and the average and the neutrality of mankind. So, but yet cis straight people within themselves also have entertainment and interaction with young children. And there's definitely a difference between an adult show and a show meant for children. So, like, perfectly white, cis, straight people could be part of a burlesque show or part of a, whatever, can line at Las Vegas. And then there's those same people who are more suited for children's shows, entertainment, and stuff like that. So it's really interesting how the same courtesy and charitability towards cis people, cis straight people, cis straight white people, let's be honest, that same charitability is not extended the other way. It's just an automatic, like, this is gross, this is disgusting, this is abhorrent, and we've decided for you that that's what's happening without any further conversation or any further ado. And as we can see, it's literally becoming a law. You know, it's so funny. People who tend to describe this sort of stuff as nonsense. People's lives are at stake here. People's livelihood, people's whole well-being and identity is at stake here. And it really concerns me when somebody perpetuates the idea that all of this is nonsense and, like, who cares, because it just shows me that there's just no awareness, and especially no situational awareness for anybody else that's different from them. Yeah. Cassie says, yep, let's distract people from the real issues. Like, for example, Cassie and I grew up in Salt Lake City in Utah, and the Great Salt Lake is drying up and could potentially put toxic elements into the air. But let's focus on the tiny population of trans people. Yeah. Um, this is just to highlight the idea like there's environmental issues. There's so many bigger issues going on in the world. Like, it doesn't make any sense to focus on this. So it's kind of it seems very pointed, right? It seems very pointed. Let I need a new jewel pod. Honey, I need a new jewel pod. Okay, hold on. My glasses. Oh my god. Where did they go? Okay. Alright, I'm back. So. So, already with this sort of phrasing, male or female impersonators who provide entertainment that appeals to a prurient interest. That seems to me, honestly, like a ton of gray area. And here's where I feel like for the next few years of my creator existence on YouTube, because so far I've been doing this channel 2.5 years, and I'm not stopping, obviously. So, like, I feel like the sort of undertone and the whole overarching point of like any of my content or any of the things that I cover for the next few years is literally always going to highlight and point to Christian nationalism. And no, not even that. Christian fascism. I'm going to be honest. And I am definitely not one of those people who uses the terms fascist and Nazi haphazardly in such a way where I'm just flinging it about because I'm mad. As you can see, I have no blue hair, and I wouldn't give a shit if I did anyways. If you do your homework, you'll find that the direction that humanity is going right now, definitely within the U.S. territory, it's a very Christian fascist sort of direction. There is so much power in the fear-mongering about drag queens and trans people and gay people and etc., etc. There is so much addictive fear-mongering about these kinds of people that there's legitimate legislations being brought up and put into motion, and it's not the first time this has been going on, and it's definitely not going to be the last time too. It's so easy to, I don't know if this applies to you, but I'm just using an example from like my perspective growing up. Like, it's so easy to just accept the material that you're taught. Oh, Renaissance Fairy, thank you so much for the membership. Let me finish my thought and then I'll go to the board. It's so easy to, as a child, at least if you're experiencing it similar to me, where you grew up in a kind of a poor public school, like a very underfunded public school. It's very Christian dominated, it's very faith dominated, things like that. Very in some cases white dominated. It's so easy to go along with what you were learning as a kid. And then when you learn about things as an adult, you understand the implications and the idea of what ideas can do. You understand what terrible understandings of other people, you understand how terrible ideas of other people, terrible biases of other people can actually turn around and super endanger them and put their lives at risk. And this is why I always talk about mindful monad. Like, I always talk about the war of the mind. I'm never going to be the type of person that asks you to grab a torch and a pitchfork and go storm the Capitol. Fuck that. That's not going to be the case. But we need so many people to just keep rising up and correcting. I'm not even going to say the phrase, speaking your mind, like stand up and speak your mind, like that's great in conceptualization. I don't want people to stand up and speak their minds. I mean, I do in a way. I'm not. Just hear me out. I want people to be more like correcting. When somebody says all drag performances, all male or female impersonators, which pretty much implies like somebody's being deceptive, all of them are pretty much providing entertainment that appeals to prurient interests. Now, I know this very sentence, I'm reading it, like obviously I know it says who provide entertainment that appeals to a prurient interest. But when we're moving towards this sort of Christian fascism sort of area, what's considered prurient interests is the next conversation that we're not having right now. We're just associating the word prurient with drag people. So already, like, Christians are like, oh, drag people are so prurient. Oh my God, we're gonna die. Like already, you see how it like implies that? It's like, we're not actually saying that all drag people are super prurient and just like very, perverted and just doing all this sexual stuff. We're not saying that. We're just saying, like if you do that, then it it's incorrect. It's morally incorrect. The idea of sexual expression and things like that absolutely is a different whole other ballgame. It's a conversation for another day. So I don't really want to dive down into like prurient. Oh, prurient. You got it? Should we do some more? Prurient. That's a good remix. Thank you. I was... Thank you, Cassidy. Sometimes I purposefully, like, try to be obnoxious for, like, kicks and giggles. I feel like not everybody gets it. Like, they genuinely think I'm, like, fucking up. Prurient. Let's see. Anyways, Male or female impersonators who provide entertainment that appeals to their prurient interests as adult cabaret performance. Okay, all right, fine, whatever, you do you, boo. It would make a it would make it a criminal offense for a drag artist to perform on public property or in a location where the show could be seen by a minor. Further, it prevents local ordinances from superseding this if it were to become a state law. That, I have so many questions. Like, I understand the idea of keeping children away from very specifically from entertainment that is specific for adults, like it's meant to be adult entertainment. But you can't sit there and say all drag queens and every time they dress up, it's meant to be, it's out of prurient interests. You can't say that. That doesn't make any sense. Because what you're trying to do is automatically equate any sort of gender deviation at all from what is considered the quote-unquote norm. It's trying to say that all deviation from cisgender expressions is automatically abhorrent, automatically bad for children. Like, that makes no sense. Yeah, Mark is right. Legislation of this kind always proves to be a Rorschach test on the legislators themselves. Like, what do you see when you look at this drag performance? And then the legislature, that they're just like, I see perversion! I see the devil! And you're like, okay, let's modify your medication so you don't see the devil every time you look at a fucking drag queen. It's not like, why can't we treat them as like, why do we have to automatically assume that drag queens are like mentally deranged? Why can't we assume that people who think drag queens are mentally deranged, they're the actual mentally deranged things? No, we can't do that, can we? Because, they have to be like the pinnacle of neutrality. Gag. Anyways. Oh, yeah. What stops people from claiming any trans person or non-gender conforming person is performing drag? Yeah, so here's where this is going to go next. Because, like, I'm highlighting these issues and it starts with drag queens, right? And drag queens are like, what the fuck? Who am, like, leave me alone. But this is the foundational work and the underbelly of making anti-trans laws, anti-gender conforming laws. This is the direction it's going to go. So, anyways, Wendy Williams has owned her bar, Club Temptation, in Cookeville, Tennessee for 6 years. She regularly holds space for drag performances, including drag brunches and bingo. Williams also performs drag herself. Our drag shows are popular. It's an important part of the entertainment factor of the bar, she said. But this very kind of entertainment has become a target in Wendy Williams' stay. The Tennessee House Criminal Justice Subcommittee recently heard testimony on a proposed bill that would categorize drag shows or male or female impersonators who provide entertainment that appeals to a prurient interest as adult cabaret performance. It would make it a criminal offense for a drag artist to perform on public property or in a location where the show would be seen by a minor. Further, it prevents local ordinances from suspending this if it were to become a state law. Shit. Adult cabaret performance. What are we just Look, I get that we're American, but like, can we just cut it with this old westerny crap? Cabaret! Like, who the fuck has cabarets anymore? Besides Las Vegas, anyways. Williams Bar doesn't allow entry to minors, so a child wouldn't be able to see any of the shows her establishment puts on anyways, she said. But given the bill's wording, she is starting to wonder whether her bar will have to be recategorized as essentially a strip club. That would be sad. It's very vague, so I don't understand how it's going to affect me, which worries me, Williams said. While Tennessee continues to work on its own proposal, other state legislatures across the U.S. are moving along with similar versions. For example, North Dakota recently advanced a bill that would criminalize performing drag in front of minors or public spaces. Performing drag. And what constitutes as performing drag? Here's where it's going to hurt trans people. Because if you get a trans woman who is going about her business, doing her own thing, and she's out in public, and you get some transphobic dickhead, and this is a law, and this person says, hey, you're technically performing drag in public, I'm going to arrest you. When it's a genuine trans woman trying to get on their merry way. You see where that's going? You see that slippery slope? Like, it's not... I'm saying slippery slope not to say that it's a fallacy in a scenario that won't happen. It's gonna happen if we keep going in this direction. It's not irrational to conclude that's where this is going to go. If the law says nobody can perform, quote unquote, perform drag in public spaces, and you have a trans woman or a trans man who is genuinely trying to go about their day, go about their life, and if they get stopped or questioned for anything, are they going to be considered performing drag because there's this cis hetero like normative world that we live in that we're making laws according to? I'm not trying to make like a huge profound statement with that. I'm trying to get y'all's brains to go that direction. I'm trying to get you to question the questions. I'm trying to get you to question the terminology. If somebody says it's illegal to perform drag, what is considered performing drag, especially in terms of a trans person who is trying to get along with their lives in the gender that is correct for them? And because, you know, they were seen as something else to begin with, and that's not the case, like, are they going to be seen as performing drag? That's going to be a big fucking slap in the face for trans people. A big hard slap in the face. Honestly, like, I think that's just so, it's really concerning. And it's dumb. Honestly, it's dumb. It's stupid. It's silly. So, like, okay. So, like, if you wear, like, a fucking, like, if you're a cis woman and you wear pants, are you considered performing drag in that instance? If a cis man wears a fucking kilt, you know, are they going to consider that a skirt and consider that drag performance? Like, where are we going with this? This is why I'm already sick of the ABC 1, 2, 3 conversations because I feel like I'm living in a world where I see adult bodies, but all I see is actual children driving them. And even then, I feel like I've seen children come to better conclusions than fucking adults because like they aren't influenced yet. So they're already sort of raw in their thinking, and I feel like they come to healthier and smarter conclusions than the adults who are trying to make this legislative today. I just All right, let's finish this article and then we're going to watch some videos. It's so hard. This is such a difficult subject. Anyways. Critics say these proposals and others like it don't just threaten the increasing popularity of drag, it's not increasing popularity. I mean, socially I guess it's more popular, but it's not just popping and sprouting up. There's been drag shows for ages. It's just like now it's becoming more socially acceptable, I guess. I guess not if we're having these sort of issues come up, but like, it's just more well known. There are also thinly veiled attacks against LGBT community as a whole, right? I mean, like, if you're going to label something as a drag performance, does every cis woman wearing a pair of pants, like, are they performing drag? That's a weird question, right? Nobody wants to think about that. This is just the latest wave of anti drag legislation. Drag, a mainstay in LGBTQ nightlife, is considered performance art that celebrates gender fluidity, self expression, and self acceptance. Performers often impersonate both men and women. In recent years, it's grown in a mainstream popularity as drag brunches. God, I want brunch. I want brunch. And story hours have popped up throughout the country. I'm sorry. I don't know what it is about brunch that's queer. Brunch is so queer. Like, no, like gay. Like, it's gay, it's queer, like brunch. Like, I love brunch. Oh my god. Brunch. Like, it's like the magical foundation of, like, gay safe places is brunch. Just mimosas, sausages, and French toast sticks. I'm in. Anyways. It's not the first time legislation targeting these performances has been introduced in state legislatures. Last year, Republican lawmakers in Florida and Arizona tried to crack down on drag shows to no avail. Crack down? What are you talking about? This isn't the fucking 1920s with the fucking like the sobriety era where it's like you had to have like your front windows and your blinds open so that people could see that you weren't drinking in your house at night. The fucking prohibition era. Like we tried to crack down on them burlesque. Oh wait, how did they word it before? It was really funny. Wait. As a cabaret performance. Oh my god. We really are in the 20s all over again. My god. We've got this prohibition era. We can't have any burlesque drag performances here. We've been trying to crack down on them drag shows, them secret Drag shows, it's like an easy speak. Wasn't that what they called them? Like easy speaks? Back in my day, I had to sneak into the club. I had to sneak in a bottle of whiskey on my garter belt. Me and your grandpappy went to the bed at the Easy Speak, and we shipped from that old bottle of whiskey. And I did the burlesque shows for your grandpappy. It was the time, I say. We got hosed down. We got hosed down by the police. We protested. Oh my god, speakeasy. Mark says, who doesn't want an hour and a half late breakfast that involves drinking? I mean, just, I don't know what it is about mimosas and French toast sticks. And honestly, with my mimosas, just have like mostly champagne. Is it champagne? Yeah, it's champagne. Mimosas are champagne, right? Champagne. Mostly champagne. And like a splash of splash of orange juice. Just a little splash. Just, you know what? Just take an orange wedge and just squeeze a little bit of it into your champagne. We are in the roaring 20s, honey. Do the Charleston. I don't know. Don't listen to me. Anyways. But this legislative session seems different. Lawmakers and critics said just a few weeks into 2023, legislators in other states have filed strikingly similar proposals to those in Tennessee and North Dakota. They've popped up in Texas, West Virginia, Nebraska, and South Carolina, to name a few. Many of the bills are also broad in scope and would effectively restrict drag show performances. The pieces of legislation introduced so far aim to do this in a number of ways. Many would limit where drag shows can be held, recategorize them as akin to strip shows, and ban the use of state funds, including those given to a non-profit, to go towards them. It's clearly a priority. Emerson Emerson, a senior staff attorney at the American Civil Liberties Union, said of the rush of anti-drag proposals. These bills threaten businesses, libraries, performers, and the people they serve by putting the power to decide what's appropriate in the hands of politicians, he said. To be honest, we expect these to sail through many legislatures. This wave of drag show restrictions comes as Republican-led state houses push other legislations targeting the transgender community. This year, we are seeing the most by far pieces of anti-transgender legislation that we've ever seen in a single year. Okay? I gotta be honest with you all. Like, it's the conspiracy. There definitely is a conspiracy going on, okay? And I hate conspiracies. I really do. Unless they're fun, like Bigfoot or something, you know? But, like, there's conspiracies out there about drag shows and trans people. But the fake conspiracy is that drag queens and trans people are inherently gross and dangerous. That's the conspiracy. What's not the conspiracy is that right-wing mainstream media, this sort of Christian nationalist, this Christian fascist idea, these movements, like the whole Christian fascist movement, that's not a conspiracy. That's a real thing. I can't tell you how many times within the last year and a half that I've come across real concepts of Nazism. It's popular. I don't know why. It's not just one group of people, it's several. It's a big thing. That's why I tend to use the phrase Christian fascism, because this is where we're going, kids. This is where we're going. Step on the magic school bus. Anyways, tiny rant. Sorry, sorry, little rant. Last year, 315 anti-LGBTQ bills were filed during state legislative sessions. 315 LGBTQ bills were filed during state legislative sessions. However, only 29 became law. Why are we filing so much to begin with? And why are some just slipping through the cracks? Indicating strong pushback against some of these restrictions, even in Republican-led state governments, according to the Human Rights Campaign. Drag bans, a subset of these kinds of bills, are essentially lawmakers' answers to drag queen story hours, Reed said. This is kind of where it all started sprouting from, is like these programs that were put into place like 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago, where they have programs where children get to have interaction with drag queens or queer people and stuff like that. And right now we're seeing this conspiracy that this is grooming, when we're gonna get into that. It's not. Why? I got some big words about that. Stay tuned. Have a spoonful of peanut butter and a shot of whiskey before you go to bed. It's the Dust Bowl area of the Great Depression. Grandpappy's got some copper nickels hidden out back in a tin can next to the cave that we live in. You know what's so sad about the Great Depression is people, they were so poor. Like, some of them literally lived in caves. Literally lived in caves. The events during which a drag queen reads books to kids have popped up around the country. They have become a subject of vitriol for far-right people, with some events becoming targets for opponents. This is where it gets dark. In Cookeville, where Williams is from, a group of far-right protesters have demonstrated in front of drag shows recently. This happened at an 18 and up drag brunch in town. An 18 and older drag brunch. An event that was already stated that you should be 18 and older. And yet there was protesting there. Protesters at this drag brunch held up a Nazi flag and yelled from across the street of the event. This is what I mean when I say Nazism is popular right now. It's not just one group, it's several. It's a lot. Like, it's eerie. It's eerie. It kind of makes the back of my, like, the hair on the back of my neck stand up. It gives me goosebumps. It makes me feel like this world isn't real. I mean, it isn't, of course. That's a whole other conversation. But it makes me feel very, I don't know, like this isn't real. There's so many people into Nazism right now. Um, I don't know. I think I might. I don't know. I want to talk about that by itself. It's so hard to talk about this stuff, though, without getting censored ourselves. Anyways. Conservative media and Republican lawmakers have claimed that their opposition to drag shows is about protecting the children! Think of the children! They can't see sequins! Protect the children from sequins! And wigs! They often repeat a homophobic trope that drag queens and LGBTQ community are, quote, unquote, grooming young children. I'm going to get into that more. Texas State Rep. Nate Schmishmer is one Republican lawmaker who opposes drag shows. He introduced a bill in his state that defines a drag performance as when a performer exhibits a gender identity that is different than the performer's gender assigned at birth. Woo! That reeks of transphobia. That's going to hurt a lot of people. In an interview with NPR, he described children witnessing drag shows, which he referred to as indecent exposure, as a slippery slope to the eventual legislation of pedophilia. Interesting that a bunch of right-wing conservative single-ass old men are interested in children. We know where that goes. Tennessee Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson, the drafter of the state's drag show bill, told NPR in a statement, just as current law prohibits strip clubs from admitting children, this legislation would also prohibit sexually suggestive drag shows from being performed on public property or any non-age restrictive private property where a minor could be present. This is a common sense measure that has broad support from Tennesseans. And again, I gotta say, I'm trying to imagine Tennessee police walking up to somebody in public, let's say a genuine trans woman, there is no other kind, a trans woman wanted to, let's say, street perform dancing or music or singing. And what if a Tennessean police officer goes up to this trans woman who's simply trying to street perform by singing or dancing and classifies them as a sexually suggestive drag show? When, let's say, right next to this trans performer was a cis woman who was singing perhaps maybe a little saucy song, like if she was doing that and the police officer saw her as what they defined as normal, like they let them pass, but then they go arrest some poor trans woman because they don't think they quote unquote pass or something. You see where I'm going with this? Like, it's weird. I'm imagining this law where it's like it's prohibited to perform sexually suggestive drag shows, and I'm trying to imagine an actual fucking police officer try to mitigate this issue and like define what is what and this and that. Like that, it's weird area that is so personal to people's own individual identity. It doesn't even matter. Like, why not just cut to the chase and say we don't like any sexually suggestive shows to begin with? Why make it focused around drag people or LGBTQ people or trans people? This is the aha moment where I'm like, you're trying to validate your actions with your sad, sorry beliefs. Oh, hey, Morg. Um, Restaurants, bars, and nightclubs that host drag shows like Williams Club Temptation would have to be recategorized as sexually oriented enterprises under many of these legislative proposals. ACLU attorney Sykes said this would require business to get specific permits and to pay fees in order to stay open in some cases. Yeah, you're going to recategorize businesses that aren't necessarily operating as strip clubs, and you're going to go ahead and label them as strip clubs, and then they're going to have to get in a lot more processes to run their business, and you're just making it harder for them. Like, where's the capitalistic American spirit in that sense? um, Other state proposals have language that defines a drag performer as one who exhibits a gender identity that is different from the performer's gender assigned at birth. That definition's broadness leaves theater shows or even female comedians just in pants, right, at risk for violating these laws. Seriously, like, we're gonna go back to women wearing pants is bad. Uh, Other state proposals have language that defines a drag performer as one who exhibits a gender identity that is different than the performer's gender assigned at birth. That definition's broadness. Oh, I thought, didn't I just read that fucking thing? Anyways, he, as well as others, noted that under this categorization, Shakespearean productions, for example, As You Like It, which involves a cross dressing heron, could be in violation of the law. Wow. Right? What's that fucking show that Barbara Streisand did? Barbara Streisand movies. What was that? What was that? No. Yentl. I'm thinking of Yentl by Barbara Streisand. I mean, wasn't that whole thing about, like, how she, like, pretended to be a Jewish boy? Like, Papa, can you hear me? Papa, can you hear me? Mrs. Doubtfire? Yeah, screw that movie. Papa, can you hear me? Papa, can you hear me? Papa, can you see me? Papa, can you find me? Night. Papa, are you near? Okay, anymore. No more Papa. Anyways, sorry. The trajectory of Arkansas's proposed drag brand, like brand cereal. Anyways, Raisin Bran, no, is a prime example of broad language backfiring on Republican legislatures. Last month, the state Senate approved sweeping legislation restricting where drag shows could be performed. The legislation would have required locations that host drag shows to be classified in the same way as strip clubs. I don't want to finish this article. Honestly, I think you get the idea. I think you get the idea. It starts with this. It starts with a legislation that has a lot of gray area. That gives these people a premise, a starting point to initiate what they really want to do. And what people really want to do is fearmonger and label anybody who deviates out of their classified state of neutrality, and normality. That's neutral, that's the same. Like, it just defines anything else that deviates from that as criminal. This is where it starts. You first start by fear-mongering, and the fear-mongering here is involving children. Think of the children. Oh, my goodness. So we're going to take a look at this video of drag queens reading to kids. And I want you to note the date of this, which is 2018. Honestly, that's long gone in the wind for me, honey. So, there's no uprise of drag people and trans kids. There's definitely an uprise in right-wing paranoia. Let's watch this. Let me turn that up. Let me turn that up. Anyways. So, here we go. Here we go. Hey, Fachita. Liz Leaf. Who else? John Jerome. Hello. Here we go. Let's watch this.
I love being creative. I love exploring with makeup, hair, all this. It's a long process, but it definitely pays off.
There's something rebellious about being a cis man and getting dolled up, putting on a wig, walking in the streets and going to night gigs and taking over the space.
I think kids don't always know what to make of us.
Hold on. Let me be back. I gotta grab my more allergy medicine, as if I'm not hyped up on that enough. Hold on, honeys. Unmute. All right. Oh, right. Hold on. Hold on. We got Imaginisa. Thank you so much for gifting some memberships. Did you do it once or twice? No, once. Okay. Elise, thank you so much. And Dear Revenant got the membership. Okay, let me dance around in my yoga shorts and write that in. I forgot how to spell your name, Elise. Elise? E-Z-E? Elise? I forget. Anyways. I forget how to spell Elise. And we got Dear Revenant. Elise. Oh, I did spell it right. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Oh, oh, that's right. Oh, who got it? Thank you. I'm like, I swear I saw another one. Yes, it was Ren Fairy. Okay. And we got David Avila. Thank you so much for becoming a member. Okay, so Ren Fairy. And David. Thank you all so much for the support. I really appreciate that. Oh my god. I'm gonna scrap the yoga ball. I think this is... I don't want to do it after this. It's too much hassle. Thank you so much, Cassie, for helping me remember that. Oh, wait, what? Katrina Gatsby, I saw you pop in. Hello. Hello. It's me. Hello. Alright, thank you all so much. Alright, let's finish watching. Let's watch this. Here. We're watching this program of Drag Storytime Hour with children in libraries. And this is why people are so pissed recently. Oh my god, can you believe these drag people reading perfectly good books to kids?
Things like gender are like the last thing on their mind.
They look like mermaids and queens.
Yeah.
Are we done yet?
Hi,
No.
I'm Miss B. I am the drag queen for Drag Queen Story Hour. Welcome!
Yay!
When I first heard about it, I was just like, where can I sign up? And I was part of the first few girls who started Drag Queen Story Hour in New York City. So when I put on my wig on my dress, like, I'm ready to go save the world.
How many of you want to be a mermaid when you grow up? For me, I think Drag Queen Story Hour is just such a natural fit. It's like one of those ideas that's just so good that I'm shocked that no one had thought of it sooner.
So what do you think a drag queen is? A queen of dragon.
I'm sorry. Am I missing something here? Am I missing something here? Because the way that right-wing conservatives, when making these laws against drag queens and like this whole concept of like drag queens can't be around children and it's like too sexual and stuff like that. And yes, obviously there are some drag performances that are more made for adults. What I'm seeing right here in this library with Drag Storytime Hour that these Proud Boys are protesting and fighting, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing children in a perfectly safe place, accompanied by their parents, and enjoying some story time. This is extremely different from what I experienced as a kid. And, you know, for me, it's like my own personal experience. I get that. But like, I do remember going to queer prom as a teenager. That was really fun. There was drag queens there. And, you know, I was a minor and there was adult drag queens there. I never felt safe or uncomfortable in that environment when I went to queer prom. But yeah, I have a distinct memory, and other people too, within, you know, the church I grew up in. It was very normal for me to sit in an office with my church leader, who was like a 30, 40-year-old stranger. It was okay for me to sit in his office, this man's office, unaccompanied by an adult or my parents. Like, I was by myself with this strange man, and he was asking me, as part of church protocol and processes, he was asking me as, how old was I? 12? I think it was 12 or 13. Or 8 years old too. No, because you get your interview process as a Mormon when you're 8, because when you're 8 years old, that's when you can technically become a member. And then you get another interview process when you turn into a teenager, and you're able to get a recommend to go into the temple, which is like the big castle in the sky or whatever. But anyways, as a child, I sat in a strange man's office who was my church leader without my parents. And these church leaders, of course, they don't have any training in psychology or counseling or anything like that. It's like Bob the plumber, okay? This man asked me if I masturbated. And as a kid, I had no idea what that word was. He had to explain it to me. He had to explain to me the details of masturbation. And I'm looking right here at this library in this perfectly public place with like parents accompanying their kids. Everybody's gathered around having a good time. And I'm comparing it to the experience I had as a kid, where this strange ass man pulled me into his office and asked me if I touched myself as a child, and asked me to like just to describe it in detail and stuff. Like, that was okay. It was okay for me to be questioned by my church leader and groomed to thinking sexually, but it wasn't okay. It's not okay for these kids to be sitting perfectly healthy with their parents in this fun environment where they're just learning about other types of people in the world. This is where I get a little bit emotionally invested, because it's like, it makes me angry to see the Christian fascism be like, these people are dangerous and gross, when in my experience, it's always been the Christians being gross. It's always been the religious people being gross. It's them, religious people, thinking the gross ass thoughts. They're thinking the sick, disgusting thoughts. We're not, like, that's not happening here in this environment, in this room. At all. At all. We have proof of it. That's where I feel a little bit emotionally invested. It's like, you really want to know what it's like to be in an uncomfortable situation as a child with an adult. Let me tell you about the time I was a child with an adult church leader. That was the most uncomfortable experience I've ever had in my life, and I wouldn't trust church leaders around a child any farther than I can throw that fucking said church leader. I just really don't. Yeah, sure, call it a bias. I think church leaders are creepy when they insist on being in a room alone with a child.
We really are. We entertain, we lip sync, we are funny. We're like clowns, but prettier. And like,
Clowns, but prettier.
you, isn't that awesome?
Yay!
story time at a Brooklyn public library, prompting a protest this morning. And it's who is reading to those children is what parents are upset about.
We have a drag queen, which is a man dressed as a woman, coming to read to children, not about Cat in the Hat, about gender fluidity.
Oh, fuck Cat in the Hat. Who gives a shit?
Before they judge a drag queen story hour. I love my wet shoes.
I think there's just something about us being larger than life, and that's really what they react to.
You get a lot of oohs, ahs, wows, and what's that?
To kids, I think, drag queens are princesses come to life or superheroes.
One of the kids said, a drag queen is someone who dresses fabulous, fancy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you're correct.
Kids, they're imaginative, they're all about play. They haven't been baked into, society's norms and expectations. So I think to them, things like being fluid with their identities comes really naturally.
They're setting a great example as being different, and there's nothing wrong with that.
When I had my own son, I started going to these story hours at libraries, and I had my kid late in life. I'm queer, so to suddenly find myself in these really straight environments was fine, but I was like, what would this be like if this was queer? And I was like, Drag Queen Story Hour.
There you go.
Mulan is a Mermaid by Jessica Love. From the stars
Hi,
in
exploring the
sky
Hollows.
to the fish in the sea. And Mulan felt loved.
That book I love and adore tremendously. That book goes through variations of animals, people, shapes, color, sizes, and all that, saying that it's okay to be different and stand up for one another, and kind of in bullying too in a way.
I like how they read different types of books every time. Like sometimes they read books about feelings, sometimes about nature, sometimes fiction, sometimes non-fiction.
That's cute.
But I just like how people in the books find a way to stop any war that might happen.
Oh, that's so
Not only
sweet.
queer families needing queer-centric event to bring their family to, but so many straight families who are progressive are always looking for ways to introduce their kid to the larger world and raise children that are thoughtful and that value diversity.
Yeah.
She loved it. She's never sat through a story time before without crying, and there was so much shiny stuff to look at.
All of my
Cute.
kids have this flair for drama and really enjoy theater and dressing up, and I want to encourage that.
Good for you, honey.
I think a lot of people don't understand the difference between sex and gender, and they think that we're teaching 3-year-olds about sex.
No. Oh my god. See, that's so sad. It's like they're teaching kids about different types of people, different types of, just diversity in general. And for the sick, disgusting Christian fascists, in their minds, they're like, oh, they're teaching them about sex and sexual nature and all these inappropriate things. And I'm like, who's doing that? Who's thinking those gross thoughts? It's these Christian fascists. They're thinking the gross thoughts. Drag queens, when they participate in this program and they're sitting in a library with children who are perfectly accompanied by their parents and they're having a good time, they're not thinking these gross-ass thoughts. They're not the ones doing that. It's very distinct, right? It's very distinct. We got this... There's so much evidence. This is like, obviously, there's so much I can fit into like one live stream, but like, this is the direction I want to go. Like, where's the outcry? Like, where's the controversy? Because so far I'm seeing something perfectly healthy.
They already have their rights, but they don't have a right to take my tax dollars and impose their doctrines on little kids and get them all confused and screwed up.
I'm sorry. Did this grocery store, did this fucking grocery outlet bargain bin lady just say that LGBT already has their rights? Newsflash lady who stores her leftover dinner in country crock containers. Excuse me, ma'am. Miss Country Crock storage container for your food. No, we don't have our rights. As you can see, people are trying to label us as perverts. And that's you.
The kids are all messed up. We need things to stay just the way they were supposed to be. The kind of change we need is for people to start listening to the Creator.
The Creator. Ah! This whole year, I swear to God, this whole year is the whole overarching, like, message I'm gonna give, like, the end of the shrubbery maze between all, like, the stuff I talk about. It's gonna be how Christian fascism is a real fucking thing. And I'm scared. I'm honestly scared. Like, I'm gonna get, like, arrested for wearing pants. I swear to God.
0 to 5 years old. Literally the sign says 0 to 5.
Story time.
About gender fluidity.
About gender fluidity. Yeah, that's a thing. People are so mad about that.
What's happening outside?
Well, apparently there's some guy who wants to date me and he doesn't know how, so he's flirting through negativity. No. There's some backlash of people who are against the program and would like to see it shut down or not see it at the library at all.
It's the second protest we've had in New York City in 3 years, but lots of the organizers in other places have hundreds of protesters at all their events.
I had a death threat over social media, which was not super serious, but a little scary. And, you know, some of the right-wing media has picked up on it.
This is a societal wrecking ball to destroy any semblance of normality.
Shut up, Alex Jones, who secretly is, like, and fucking fetish-sizing trans women. Shut up, Alex Jones. Absolutely. I am 100% comfortable in saying that. Alex Jones fetishizes trans people and then turns around and says this bullcrap. You're gross, Alex. You're gross. Okay? You're gross. You're disgusting. You think gross thoughts. We don't like you.
Any semblance of basic human biology. And I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it right now. I can't handle it more.
And the thing that, I don't know, scares me the most is just, like, in our crazy gun culture that, like, I'm sort of afraid, you know, that of what could happen if some crazy person came to one of our events.
Right. Jesus fucking Christ, he was arrested.
When I came here today, I saw all the kids love it and cheering after every
Ooh,
book.
she's a unicorn.
And what do you think the pigeon wants to do now?
Drag queen should go on and never stop because I think it's a really cool program.
Shoes on the drag queen go stomp, stomp, stomp.
I believe that hate isn't inherited, it's taught. So if we can teach these kids how to love and accept everybody, they'll
Pete the
definitely
cat.
be the best generation that we
So Cassie recommends Pete the Cat. Cassie works with children. I'm gonna read Pete the Cat.
could ever ask for.
My white shoes.
People associate drag queens with adult entertainment.
It's so wrong.
So they think if it's a drag queen, it can't be appropriate for children. And we have to really often explain to people, this is a program designed for children. It's a drag queen reading children's books, singing children's songs. There's nothing adult about it.
Also, look at this lovely drag queen. She's not dressed inappropriately for children at all. Oh, Cassie says, I have many Pete the Cat books, Jan. You will read them when you visit. Yes, I'm going to visit Cassie this summer in Utah. Fuck yeah.
I think often it's hard for people to just kind of get beyond their preconceived notion of what a drag queen does.
We're not trying to pull people to be drag queens. There's some things that I would never perform for a child, and there are things I probably would never wear in front of a child, but that goes for anyone with any profession.
Thank you. Thank you. Like, just being adult in general, you're gonna have aspects of your adult life that genuinely aren't appropriate for children. This is for any adult, no matter who the fuck they are, what gender they are, like what identity they are. Even if you're the cis, white, heteronormative sort of thing, like, there's still going to be aspects of your life that's appropriate for children and not appropriate for children. So why are we trying to label drag queens as adult entertainment across the board when that doesn't make any sense at all? That's the type of fear-mongering and the hate that's being driven towards this.
The seats on the bus go swish, swish, swish all through the town.
I was just talking to these girls downstairs. None of them asked me, you know, am I a boy? They had a lot of questions about how did I get my hair to be purple, or how do I get glitter to stick to my face, or where did I get all these clothes? But
Funny, this drag queen is saying that these little girls are asking him nothing about sexuality and everything just about, you know, like, your purple hair, your glitter clothes, like, how do you get, you know, glitter on your face? Like, kids don't think this way. They really don't.
you know, they just kind of take me at face value, and I think that's really
I like how she added the sea creatures and makes it extra pretty to me.
Do you know where you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be a lot of things. Number 1, scientist. Number 2, ninja. Number 3, writer.
A scientist, a ninja, and a writer. This kid is going places. Those are top 3 excellent fucking things to be. A scientist, a ninja, and a writer. You go, kiddo.
It's amazing, and I believe you can do all 3 of those things, okay? Just make sure you continue on with school, and don't let anyone ever tell you you cannot do it, because you could do it. Okay? High five, Dylan.
I'm so sad. I really am just sad that people have to take this and turn it into something just really fucking hateful. Really fucking disgusting. Here's another one of just like a healthy interaction with kids. And this is like, oh my god. This was 3 years ago.
You go out like that. You had girl shoes on. Kind of look like Tinkerbell.
Bam! Wonderful. Hello?
You're wearing high heels.
I am wearing high heels.
Hi, Ruben.
Do you know what we're doing today?
I think they're talking about you.
There you go.
Glitter.
Are you sitting in my seat? Oh my god, are you going to ask the questions in the interview?
Yeah.
This is the first time that I've been back at school since I left Australia.
Your eyelashes are a bit too long.
They're real, by the way. My parents were cousins. No, I'm kidding. They're fake.
Those kids are not going to know what that means. My parents were cousin. No, never mind. They're fake. Sorry.
Okay, good. When did you like dressing up like that? What age?
I've been dressing up like this since I was your age.
God, you must be well old.
Do you think I look normal?
No.
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 No, a bit.
I'm normal a bit? I feel so hurt. Is that the laugh you're going to use all day? We're going to move on to something. Do you like what I'm wearing today?
Bit too much.
A bit too much. Ooh, sassy. Sassy little bee.
I think it looks pretty. You don't think it looks pretty?
Do you like jokes?
Can I tell one?
Yep.
Okay. Celine Dion walks into a bar and the barman says, "Why the long face?"
That wasn't funny, but it was funny because the kid did not get that. Celine Dion, why the long face? Celine Dion is a queen, okay?
Do you have a girlfriend?
I think it might be a boyfriend.
Boyfriend?
Yeah. What do you think about men who wear makeup?
You can't put it into boys.
Who said?
The penguin over there.
The penguin? The penguin believes in binary gender roles? I love it.
Would you be gay or would you not be gay?
Have you met a gay person before?
No.
No. Am I the first one? Do you know what that means? More celebration!
Again?
Again?
I just want to, you know what? I want a pocket full of confetti just for like... I would love it because I do get this occasionally, not all the time, but very rarely. Where somebody in public will be like, "Are you a boy or a girl?" And it's like, I'm non-binary. I should just take confetti out of my hand and just be like, "Bah! I am queer. My gender is queer." Pocket confetti, okay? Not only is it good to celebrate with, but it's also good to it's also good to distract your enemies. Just like some queer hating redneck, like, "I'm gonna beat you." You're like, okay. You just throw your glitter and disappear. Just whoosh, gone.
Okay, 1 second. Oh, no, I don't have the budget for that. It's only Channel 4.
Did you go to school like that?
Yeah. And school wasn't actually a fun time for me. I was a different kid. I was a young gay kid, and I liked to dress up, and I liked to sing and dance, and I wasn't into sport.
At least you actually have the guts to do things.
Thank you.
What other people can't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I think.
I feel like everyone should be who they want to be and people shouldn't tell them what to do.
I think so too. That's really well put.
Haters are gonna hate you, just gotta be you.
Do you think I should do what I want to do?
Do what you want to do.
Yeah, I think so too.
And if I was that, I would help you. I think everyone would.
This is the...
Oh, that's so sweet. So he's talking about how when he was in school, like, he wasn't treated very well. And this cute little darling kid said, you know, like, if you're a kid, you know, with me right now, like, I would help you. Like, I would defend you. That's so sweet. Like, that almost makes me want to cry.
First time I've been back to school since my times in Australia. And you have made me feel so much better about the whole thing, and that possibly school right now, in some places, isn't as bad as it once was. You two are brilliant.
I know.
I know. That's so sweet. I love that. I love that. Such a cute little kid. Anyways. So, I wanted to introduce to you first the premise that these Christian fascists are like, they're trying to start their argument off of, because this is a mind of war. Yeah, no, this is a war of mind. This is the war of ideas. This is where it starts. It starts with this fear-mongering, paranoid idea of drag people endangering children, and then they make laws about it. There are way more examples of lovely, cute, wholesome moments between drag queens and children than this. Like, there's way more examples. There's so much more. And like I said before, in my own personal experience, I went to queer prom as a kid. I never actually went to prom, but they had queer prom, which was specifically made for LGBTQ kids, and it was held downtown in a club, and it wasn't too terribly sketchy, the location, but it was a little downtown, like, it was a little risque, you know, but there was drag queens there, adult drag queens, and there was a lot of us minors there, and they were lovely, wonderful chaperones and guides and just hosts of queer prom. Just a prom where gay kids could dance together and like queer kids could just hang out. And there was nothing inappropriate about it. There was nothing uncomfortable about it. But yeah, I have these very distinct memories of these heteronormative cis people, especially white cis men, who were church leaders, who made me feel extremely uncomfortable, who were asking me if I masturbated, and I was only like between 8 and 13 years old, and I didn't even know what that word meant. I didn't even know what that word was. I had to listen to some sick-ass old man explain to me what masturbation was without my parents. I know my personal experience doesn't account for like the whole world, but I personally, in my opinion, cannot understand or fathom a world where drag queens are dangerous to children. But I can definitely fathom and understand a world where religious church leaders are dangerous for children. There's no outrage for that. There's no outcry and just anger for that. In fact, these people will do anything and everything to justify and excuse bad, horrible, disgusting behavior towards children from church leaders. But when it comes to drag queens and gender non-conforming people, they're going to automatically associate that with being perverse. When I hear myself say this stuff out loud, like the reasonings, it makes me feel... I definitely have a little bit of anger. Oh, certainly a lot of anger, actually. I have frustration. I have a lot of sadness. Because this is the wrong side of history. This is the wrong side of history. This is the wrong direction. And as a Hyperion and a non-binary trans person who is Hyperion, I don't know what to do, honestly. I don't mean to, bring down the mood or anything, but there was a good period of my life when I came out of the closet as trans and non-binary, that was kind of like the honeymoon phase, the sort of magical, enlightened phase. Like, I first came out as trans and non-binary, and at first, you know, everybody in my life seemed very celebratory of that. Over the course of the last year or so, people who I thought were my friends and family, people who very much vocalized that they supported me, ended up not actually supporting people like me. Truly, like, secretly, like, they really didn't support that. Having, you know, that period where I'm like, everything's great, wonderful, and shifting from that to having some of my friends, they were never friends at this point. I'm just realizing that they were never actually friends. They were never true friends, but I thought they were friends, but really they were very disingenuous, and they had lots of fucking nasty conditions. But, you know, like, when it switched over and those people spoke against me simply for just coming out and being honest about myself and truthful about myself, that's when I started to see the dark side of things. That's when I started to see the evil side and the horrible side of being somebody that isn't like anybody else. And it makes sense why, as a kid, I didn't really explore much about myself in this aspect. In a way, I'm sad that I didn't have the environment that I could come out as a child in, because I definitely could have used videos like this. I could have definitely used drag queen icons to help me with feeling comfortable about my identity. I definitely needed that bridge, but like, I didn't get that. So I like, that sucks, but in a way I'm kind of glad like I'm coming into this now as an adult, because I have a little bit more wherewithal and just foundation to myself to where it's not going to shake me to the point of destruction. But when I think about kids, and I know for a fact that among a group of children, there's going to be some kids that are definitely queer. They're definitely gay. They're definitely trans. Like, trans, gay people, queer people, they don't just sprout out of nowhere. Like, you don't just, like, grow up as an adult, become an adult, and, like, okay, I'm just going to decide to be trans. Like, that doesn't happen. Trans children exist. Gay children exist. Queer, non-gender conforming children exist. I refuse to be a part of the world where they tell children and communicate to children through this scary protest, with this scary protest of white men bearing guns and doing the Sieg Heil thing. Like, that's a scary environment for children. That's what I'm worried about. We're trying so hard to provide a future for kids, a conceptualization of a future for them when they're queer, non-gender conforming, this, that, the other, trans, whatever, gay. We're trying to show them that there's a future for them, that queer adults exist, that when you're a kid and you're gay, trans, whatever, there's a future for you. So often people talk about the trans agenda, quote unquote, the trans agenda. The real trans agenda is a full life expectancy. It's literally to live. For example, when I looked into kids transitioning, you know, the actual facts of kids, trans kids, and when they get the gender confirming care that they need, gender affirming care, the suicide rate drops so significantly it can't be ignored. Why are we trying to communicate to kids that they don't have a future if they're gay, trans, or something else? Why are we trying to tell kids that if they are this, if they are gay, if they are trans, if they are queer, why are we trying to tell them that we're going to kill them? Doesn't that seem like the true nefarious message to children, and not drag queens simply reading books about acceptance to diversity? Do you see the hypocrisy here? Do you see the total shadow projection of, if we're going to label somebody who is truly harming children, let's talk about these weird Christian conservatives, because they think weird, disgusting thoughts about people. They are very unhealthy with the way they think, and they need professional help. I talk about this with TERFs, trans exclusionary feminist, or trans radical TERFs. Trans exclusionary radical feminists. TERF, the way they think, TERF brain, as I see Hassan, like one of my favorite streamers, Hassan, calls it TERF brain. And he describes it as a sickness. And I have to agree, it's disgusting. It's sick. Like, you're purposefully degrading people down to a basic biological function, and you're harming yourself in the process, and then you're being a dick, and you're just being gross with the thoughts you think. Like, it doesn't look good. It doesn't help. It doesn't help anybody. Let's just watch a few more news clips about what's going on, and then I think we're going to wrap it up for the night.
But passing it makes every one of these Republicans look good. Tennessee has now introduced legislation that would ban public drag performances and gender-affirming care for transgender minors, because there is nothing else going on in Tennessee that needs to be addressed by its state government. So they have
I mean, what the fuck else is going on in Tennessee? They have nothing going on, girls. Come on.
Time to do this. Here's what's in the bill, introduced in the state Senate last November by state.
By the way, this is a channel called The Young Turks. I recommend them. You know, obviously, everything I show you guys, like every YouTuber and stuff, obviously, I think it's like, it doesn't need to be said. Like, I don't agree with every single solitary thing they say. I hate having to say that, but like, I love this channel, and this is where Hassan got his start, and that's because I think it's his uncle that participates in this, and I don't know, I do like them. They say a lot of really smart things.
State Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson. Tennessee Senate Bill 3 seeks to amend an existing state law preventing, quote, adult-oriented businesses from operating within 1,000 feet of schools, public parks, or places of worship to include adult cabaret performances, which the legislation defines as performances that feature, quote, male or female impersonators who provide entertainment that appeals to a prurient interest.
Prurient. Okay, I get it now. Prurient. Can you see how I would say prurient? Prurient.
Which is, of course, incredibly vague by design. They get to say what's prurient or not. They also get to decide what male or female impersonation is.
Yeah.
So, like, if Hillary Clinton wears a pantsuit, that's a suit. Is she impersonating someone? What the hell does any of this mean? We know what it means. It's a culture war thing. It doesn't have to be logical. It doesn't have to be specific. They don't even have to enforce it necessarily, but passing it.
Yeah, you're right. Exploring the Holo says Hassan's uncle owns the TYT channel. He does. And Hassan is actually super open about, like, how he kind of got his start a bit with, like, a little bit of nepotism. He's really open about that. I appreciate it. I mean, it's not necessary, but, you know, it's like, I appreciate the awareness, but I do like the Young Turks. They're really good in their takes.
Makes every one of these Republicans.
And I hope they don't, I hope they don't copyright strike me.
Republicans look good to some of the craziest people in the country. And by the way, while there's some things that immediately are going to be outlawed as a result of this, shows of topless dancers, go-go dancers, exotic dancers, strippers, those sorts of things, some people are concerned that it could go way beyond that. Take a look.
My concern with this is the breadth of the language, Mr. Sponsor. And the breadth of this language takes direct aim at the local economy of my city. It takes direct aim at the entertainers within my city. It takes direct aim with the small businesses in my community. And so the language of this bill, now, I don't know if you've ever attended a Beyonce concert. Something tells me you haven't.
What kind of fucking shade is that? I can tell you haven't attended a Beyonce concert. Just like, is it like spotting a toupee? My God, I feel shamed.
Or a Harry Styles concert, or a Lizzo concert, or a Madonna concert. Your language.
I don't know. I like Madonna. Madonna is iconic, but I'm just gonna make a bunch of weird faces. Something about Madonna recently, I can't quite put my finger on it. It's not as attractive as she used to be. And I don't mean that, like, physically. I mean just, like, her whole demeanor and everything. And, like, I don't know. There's something weird about Madonna these days. I don't know why.
Prohibiting, and the breadth, the vagueness in this bill would prohibit those entertainers from performing in my city. It would prohibit Beyonce, the Queen Bee herself, who is coming to Nashville this year. This bill would allow me as a district attorney by the plain...
I'll tell you what, you know what's so interesting? Even though Tennessee, you think of the state of Tennessee to be like a really Bible Belt sort of thing, and it kind of is, but the thing about Tennessee is Tennessee has a very rich sort of performers platform, like performers world. Like Tennessee is full of a ton of entertainment. I mean, it's like the fucking state capital of contra music, you know? Like, I mean, it's really invested in its entertainment industry, so it's really interesting that Tennessee is going to be like, no drag.
In language of this bill, to arrest Beyonce. Is that your intended goal here?
I like his general point there. I like even more that he fit in the reference to the Queen Bee. It wasn't necessary, but I like it. I respect it. But yeah, it's a perfectly good point. Harry Styles frequently gets attacked by the right wing for wearing clothes that aren't traditionally masculine clothes. So I guess you could arrest him.
I do like Harry Styles. But one thing I will say about Harry Styles' gender nonconformity is that the mainstream media was quicker to recognize Harry Styles for his non-conforming gender nature before actual non-binary people. I mean, there's been plenty of non-binary people doing the same things Harry Styles did, but yet Harry Styles was first recognized by like Vogue magazine, all these mainstream media outlets, and that's good. I mean, that's good. I'm not going to knock that, but I find it really interesting where it's like, this is acceptable, this is where we're going to say this is cool, But like non-binary people have already been doing that, and they did not get any recognition of that whatsoever.
Or more likely, he wouldn't risk that. He just wouldn't come. And yet another right-wing state would prove itself to be so backwards that no popular entertainer, no figure would want to go through the legal headaches. So why even bother? If Beyonce is going to wear a suit jacket and a tie, she could be arrested. So why even bother? What is the point of all of this?
Okay, before I get to my serious points, I love looking at the legislators in the background.
In the middle.
And so normally they're always like look bored, even if there's like madness going on and whatever the speaker is saying. Sometimes the white guys in the background look angry. By the way, this passed overwhelmingly, so those are the white guys in the background that I'm referring to.
I do love Harry Styles. I love Harry Styles. His song "As It Was," I know word from word, heart to heart. Like, I love that song so fucking much. You know it's not the same as it was, as it was, as it was.
But if you notice the guy in the pink shirt, the black guy all the way in the right there, once he got to Queen Bee, he was like,
yeah, Kessie's right. So this is kind of like the direction I'm going. So if we're going to implement this legislation, are we going to target women wearing pants? If a woman is wearing pants, are we going to, and what if a cis woman puts on pants and just wears a fake mustache for fun because she's goofing around and like filming some TikToks or something? Like, is a police going to approach her and be like, you there? You're not dressed according to your thing. This is a drag performance and I'm going to arrest you. Probably not. I'll tell you who's going to be arrested for that shit most, and that's people of color. Black people.
Mm-hmm. I was waiting to see what his reaction was.
I see the nod right there.
I love that guy. And I like what's he eating? I want it.
For a lot of us, this is nothing new. A lot of us grew up being bullied, harassed, threatened, abused. There are still many, many of us that live in areas that your life is in danger.
At the end of the day, that's what they want. They kind of just want to make us be feared enough that we wouldn't even want to step out of our house or we would just hide in the shadows, and that's not something that we should be doing.
Oh, she's got like a she's got like a dress on and she's got dinosaurs around, like she's got like a dinosaur puppet around her fucking. That's amazing. I want to see that. I want to pet the little pet dinosaur. That's so fucking fun. Yeah, imagine a cop trying to arrest a cisgender woman who has an unintentional mustache. Right? Because I'll tell you one thing, honeys. I'll tell you one thing. Before I started HTR, before I started hormone therapy treatment or whatever it's called, HTR, hormone therapy something. I don't... Anyway, so I'll tell you what. Before I started testosterone, before I got on testosterone, and by the way, I've been on testosterone for more than a year. So, like, I'm already balls deep into it. No pun intended. Before I started testosterone, I already had a mustache. I already have a mustache because, like, the genetics within my family, like, all the women get tons of facial hair. So it's so funny to me. It's like, if some old lady has, like, some mustache and she didn't bother to shave, like, is there a cop who's gonna be like, you, ma'am, Sit down, ma'am. You have a mustache. I'm gonna give you a ticket for not waxing your lip. What the fuck? Yeah, Hyperion Frequency says if women have hairy legs, is that considered cross-dressing now? Because I tell you what, before I was openly public about trans, like, I've grown out my body hair. Like, I haven't shaved my armpits. I literally cannot remember the last time I shaved my armpits. I can't. I can't. In fact, I think it was very recent where there was some controversy brought up about, like, women having armpit hair, and I'm like, is this still a thing? Because I thought, like, back in 2000 and, like, 13, 14, I thought we already did the armpit hair thing. Like, didn't we do that already? Didn't we already say women have hair on their legs and in their armpits, and it's okay to grow that out? Like, like, my goodness. Laura! Laura's like, Jen, if I didn't pluck or shave my chin and that whole bottom area of my face, I could be a bearded lady in the circus. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So funny. Oh my God. I know what you mean though. Like, I remember when I was super little and like I went with my parents to visit my grandmother, and it was like a grandmother on a side of the family that I haven't met yet. I remember very distinctly like looking at her face with her mustache. She had a mustache. And I just like as a kid, I'm like, you know, because when you're a kid, you don't know how to be like polite and stuff. So I'm just like, and she's like, give us a kiss. Come here, little grandkitty. Like, come here and give me a kiss. And she'd give me a smooch. And it was all prickly, and I'm just like, I was little, okay? And she's long dead, so she doesn't give a shit. Anyway. Let me use the bathroom. Hold on. I know. I'm sorry. Lots of root beer. Actually, I need another root. I need more beverage. It's out. I need more. Hold on. Yoga nature. Hey, what's up, buddy? Taxi drivers can be arrested for disheveled appearance in Australia. Too off topic? I don't know. I am not Australian. Unfortunately, I am American.
We have a follow-up meeting scheduled with a member of the local law enforcement, a friend of the show, who will come in and teach us about evacuation tactics to make sure that we can keep our patrons safe if an occurrence happens, what our stopping points are to delay a violent attacker if that happens, and how we're supposed to respond. Thank you so much, Hyperion Frequency. I really appreciate that. And Hyperion-C...
Hyperian Frequency has a super good Facebook page, like very super well curated. I really like it.
To protect ourselves and our patrons.
We want to go to these places and to these bars and these restaurants to be able to call it a safe haven and be able to just be openly as queer as possible and just have a great time and a fun time.
No matter what people do, say, try to intimidate, we're here, we'll always be here.
We're here, we're queer, get used to it.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more video...
ABC News, they're honestly kind of crappy.
He isn't trying to ban drag. He's trying...
We start tonight with one of Tennessee's top Republicans targeting drag shows. Senator Jack Johnson just filed a bill that would ban some drag performances in front of children. Repeat offenders could be charged with a felony. Tonight, Senator Johnson explains why, and the drag queens respond. Here's News 2's Adam.
This is dumb. I'm sorry, this is dumb. This really does target trans people because, like, me as a non-binary trans person, so I'm transmasculine. So to me, what this says, if I have, like, a mustache and, like, and wear pants, that means I could get arrested because if I walk through the mall as myself and somebody doesn't like that and they call the police on me, does that mean I can get arrested for just existing because I happen to go to the mall and there's like a kid there, but I'm not like doing any performances or I'm not being lewd or anything in front of children, but like, what if I get arrested or what if I get ticketed? Because honestly, that's where that shit goes. Let me tell you something. A lot of laws, a lot of the way you get punished for laws is financially. You know, it's like, I'm going to write you a ticket, but that ticket is for $280. That doesn't seem crazy, right? But if you can't fucking afford that shit, like, because I know what it's like to be there when the only thing you can afford is a can of beer and a pack of smokes as your form of entertainment. Like, when that's all you can afford, and now you have to pay a $280 ticket, like, that's bullshit. So I'm just imagining going out to the mall, existing as myself, and because I have a mustache and, like, some cisgendered freak is like, oh, this person here that looks like a man is going into the women's bathroom. Like, am I gonna get a fucking ticket for that? Like, Hyperian Frequency says it's literally distressing living in poverty. I'll tell you what, most laws, most punishments for crimes, quote unquote crimes, genuinely just punishes poor people. I remember working for, and she's actually a really nice lady. She didn't treat me poorly at all. I used to work for this lady. I used to be her photographer, and she was a beauty influencer, and I would photograph her for her social media with her beauty products that she was like reviewing and stuff. And I remember one time meeting her on location that was outside at a beach, and she picked me up, and you know, I went with her. And then she illegally parked, and she just did it. And I'm just like, you can't park here. And she tells me, she's like, you know what? It's just going to be a $60 ticket, and I don't give a shit because I can afford it. And in my head, I'm just like, wow. Like, imagine being in the place where you're like, I'm going to pay $60 for parking and I don't give a crap. Like, that was so foreign and just like over my head. And I'm just like, what? Like, you could just do that. You could just like park illegally and just like get a ticket and just pay it. And like, I just couldn't. I'm just like, okay, girl. I'm like, okay, girl. You do you. You do you, boo. I can't do that. I gotta, it was so stupid. I think like 2 months ago, I got a ticket. I got pulled over. I've only been pulled over twice in my whole life. The first time it was literally because I could not afford my car registration, and I got a cop who just happened, and I'm very lucky, just happened to be forgiving and charitable, and I happened to be like a block from my house, but they pulled me over and they're like, you have no registration. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And they're like, why did you do that? And I'm like, because since the pandemic, it's been really hard to afford things and I still have to work. And I want to say it's luck. There's definitely a huge degree of privilege there. Like, I think if I was anybody else, I would have been in a lot more trouble. Absolutely, 100%. So I definitely got treated differently because I look white and feminine, right? Well, I am white, but I look feminine. What's funny though is I looked trans enough to where and I hate it when this happens as a non-binary person. I actually love to get sirred, but I don't like to get ma'amed. So the cop that pulled me over, they're like, hey, sir, can you show me your license and registration? And then I'm like, yeah. And then after like 2 seconds, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. And I'm like, I just let them have it. But like at first I'm like, you did that right. Like, that's good. Like, it's a sir, thank you. But they happened due to my privilege, and I don't mean that in a weird like liberal way, like it literally is privilege, like they literally let me go. That and the place I live in had a car show, like a fancy what's the word, antique car show. There was an antique car show and every single tow truck in the area happened to be preoccupied with towing these cars, because if you have antique cars, they're not necessarily street legal, so you can't drive them on the street. So that also played into it. But I still, ended up paying like a $280 ticket. And then just a couple of months ago, I got pulled over for the second time in my life for running a stop sign. But I live in California. I don't know if you know anything about California, but when it comes to our driving habits, every fucking buddy rolls through stops. It's literally called a California stop. Like, you don't actually stop at a stop sign. You just kind of like very slowly slow down and then go. Like, so anyways, I got that, and that's another $280, and I'm like, fuck me, I can't afford it. So they have like a payment program, but like, what I'm imagining, okay, let's go back to this. So what I'm imagining in my mind is like being ticketed for wearing pants and having a fucking mustache. And it's like, you have to pay this $280 ticket because you look weird. Does that make sense? Because that's a real reality, I feel like.
Mincer with tonight's cover story.
One of the first bills a top Tennessee Republican says he wrote to protect children is being called an attack by some in the LGBTQ community.
A little terrifying because it kind of seems like they're setting up this groundwork for sort of like a morality police thing, giving very mid-century.
The bill...
I'm sorry. Who is that precious angel in the lap? We didn't even get it. Oh, he's covered by the... Ow. Oh, look at the little face. Look at the little puppy. I love him. Look at him. He's like... little puppy sitting in the lap. He's like, honey, I don't know a damn thing that's going on. My little pea brain just wants some treats. He looks cute as shit. Me do it for you. Me do it for you, Kermie.
Thing, giving very mid-century.
The bill bans adult cabaret performances in public places or around.
Cabaret. I'm sorry. Just the phrasing of like adult cabaret performance screams to me like Prohibition era.
Children. That category includes male or female impersonators who provide entertainment that appeals to a prurient interest.
To ban any type of drag show that is sexual in nature from being performed in a public place.
Senator Johnson says he isn't trying to ban drag. He's trying to ban sexually suggestive acts in public.
I don't want to ban a theater company from doing a production of Mrs. Doubtfire in a public park. I think most people have seen that movie. No, Robin Williams was dressing up as a woman.
Oh, no. Not this old-ass man telling us what's acceptable drag and what isn't. Not this old-ass fucking corn-fed motherfucker telling us what is considered drag and what isn't. Please tell me this man is not sitting there being like, drag? Well, if it's like Mrs. Doubtfire, that's the acceptable drag to me. Like, the quiet, quaint drag that I can laugh at and support. But, like, what in the hell is going on? This man is really sitting here in front of me before us and stating, like, is he a secret drag queen? No, I don't think so. Maybe secretly attracted. I don't know. But, like, why is he making any laws about anything when he isn't even involved in that area whatsoever? That's a little concerning to me.
We don't have an issue with that.
So what specifically wouldn't be...
How about drag people don't give a fuck what you have an issue with and what you don't? How about that? How about them apples?
Be allowed?
It's like they say about pornography. You know it when you see it.
Pride event organized.
So he says it's like pornography. You know it when you see it. Did this man just equate all drag performances as pornography? And I know he said, well, I know there's a difference. Like, it should be obvious what's not appropriate for kids. It's not obvious to him what's appropriate or inappropriate to kids. It's not obvious to him. If it was actually obvious to him, he wouldn't be creating this bill. He wouldn't be pushing this bill. He wouldn't be doing this. It's very clear to me that he definitely does. That's why he's doing this. He doesn't know the difference. He cannot differentiate between a regular fucking, like, kid appropriate show where some drag queen is like reading books to kids and a drag queen doing a burlesque strippy show. Like, he does not know the difference between those two. That's why he's doing it. But here he is sitting before us saying like, oh, I know there's a difference. Oh, I know there's a difference between something that's like scantily clad and something for kids. Like, no, he doesn't. He doesn't. That's a lie. It's a pure lie. And to be like, well, I'm not going to shut down a public show of Mrs. Doubtfire. It's like, really? You're gonna use like some weird ass mainstream media movie business like film where like you literally have insight to the only type of drag that's acceptable to you? Like, you're really gonna use that? You're really gonna use a fictional movie, a literal fictional movie, something that's not even real, and you're going to take it and compare it to the real lives of people? This is childish childishness. Hey, Susan. Susan came in the middle of a rant. But this man is like, oh, you know, I would accept a play performance of Mrs. Doubtfire, but, you know, I know what it means when something's not appropriate for kids. He does not know what's appropriate or not appropriate for kids. He doesn't know at all. Why would he be pushing this bill if he understood a difference between something that's an adult show and something that's made for children? He's not. That's why he's pushing this. That's why he's pushing the idea that drag performers shouldn't be in front of children at all. He's already categorizing them in the area of this is not appropriate for kids. But he just said here right in front of us, like, oh, I know the difference. Like, you can be Mrs. Doubtfire, Robin Williams, that movie that straight cis people only have like the only conceptualization of like it's just cross-dressing. It's not even a drag queen. It's just Robin Williams cross-dressing. And he's like, oh, that's acceptable. But, you know, we can't have this in real life. Like, going from fiction, taking fiction, the fiction inside your mind, and trying it to apply to real fucking people with real fucking lives. This man is living in a fantasy land. And he's punishing queer people and drag queens and trans people according to his personal fantasies.
Dr. Chris Sanders says all he sees is another law regulating his community.
It's clear that we're getting more scrutiny because LGBTQ people have always gotten more scrutiny.
That's the best they'll ever look.
Thank you.
Performers like Jared Davis say what some may see as sexually explicit for him to do in drag is okay in other spaces.
And that happens in straight spaces all the time.
Thank you. Hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. These types of these politicians that are pushing forward these bills, they're already in the mindset that straight cis people are synonymous with rationality, neutrality, the norm. They don't like the idea that they're actually not the norm. It's just so weird to see this, it's so weird to see this sort of not catch-22, sorry. It's like what is it? Double entendre. And the straight cis people are getting the longer end of the stick there. It just, it makes me mad that there's no association of straight cis people with adult entertainment. There's no association with that. And it's an automatic association with drag queens and perversion. Drag queens and aberration. Like, that should be monitored. That should be watched. But we don't talk about the perfectly white, cis, heteronormative men who are church leaders asking children about masturbation without parental, supervision. That's not a conversation. We're having this conversation instead. We're not having the conversation that should be had about church leaders being the morally abhorrent ones.
Happens on the street all the time. It's fake outrage.
However, in a state
fake
house held by a
outrage.
Republican supermajority, while Davis sees the outrage as fake, this law could have a very real impact on his career.
We are back with Adam now live at the state capitol. Republicans also filed a bill today, Adam, to restrict medical procedures on transgender children. How's that work?
Restricting medical procedures on trans children. people don't want to look into precisely what trans care children are getting. They don't. When people imagine trans care, gender affirming care for children, what they think about automatically is body mutilization. That's not happening. Children cannot get top surgery and bottom surgery because they don't have the parts to do that. So most of trans affirming care for children is puberty blockers. Puberty blockers are also used by regular ass men. I don't like to say the word regular. Cis men to prevent balding and hair loss. Like, it's the same kind of thing. So it's always this weird war of like verbally establishing trans care as something out of the norm when cis people are getting gender affirming care all the time. Cis women get boob jobs. Cis men get liposuction. You know, like there's so much that cis people do to affirm their gender, but then when other people do it, it's not okay. That doesn't make sense to me. But these sort of laws against drag queens, you know, when they say you cannot appear as anything else but the gender that we think you should have, that's a big deal. They don't want that. And that sort of thing leads to, it's a bridge to, a segue to, not allowing trans people to express themselves as they really are.
Bob, that law would make it so that if a doctor wanted to provide, let's say, hormone therapy or do surgery on genitals of a transgender youth, and does that, if this were to pass, then therefore that doctor could be at risk of losing his or her license. This bill would also allow children to sue their doctor or their parents. Of course, we'll be closely monitoring that legislation come January.
Jeez.
Drag shows are no longer the underground phenomenon they once were. In fact, family-themed drag events are often held in many cities for younger audiences. But as the backlash and rhetoric against LGBTQ people has grown, so have the threats to the drag community.
Reclaim America!
More than 50 members of the far-right white nationalist group.
Look at all these psychos.
Groups Proud Boys and Patriot Front marched in the streets of Columbus, Ohio
Look at
on
these
Saturday. They were
weird-ass,
protesting a local
white-ass
school's
men.
Holly Drag Storytime event, where 3 local drag performers read children's books and sing holiday songs. School officials at Red Oak Community School decided to cancel the event, citing safety concerns.
The world is getting more and more unsafe for the LGBTQ community. The attacks are constant and getting worse.
They are.
The fact that we are not able to successfully host this simple event shows the extent of the damage. We have to do better.
Yeah.
It's one of a number of drag story hours disrupted by far-right protesters this year, including in Nevada, Oregon, and California.
Wake up, bear, mumbled Mole.
Events like these drag queen story times are intended to promote inclusion and diversity to younger audiences, but they've now...
Look at all these children perfectly happy and safe with their parents' supervision. And look at these weird, sick, like, white men, pretending that this is abhorrent. Gonna call it like it is.
Now become a target for right-wing media and politicians.
Let's say you were interested in sexualizing children, and unfortunately some people are. What would you do? You might have a drag queen story hour.
Shut up. Shut up, Tucker Carlson. That guy is a joke.
At a library or a school, that's where you would indoctrinate and sexualize children. It's happening across the country.
Some Republican candidates amped up targeted messaging before the midterms. In June, the GOP nominee for Arizona Governor, Carrie Lake, tweeted, quote, "They kicked God out of schools and welcomed the drag queens. They took..."
Oh my God, no. Heaven have mercy on our souls. Please, no, don't take God out of the schools. Whatever happened to, like, separation between church and state? Oh, right. That's right. It never happened.
Took down our flag and replaced it with a rainbow. But those who track that rhetoric say the real-world consequences are clear. A new report by the LGBTQ media advocacy group GLAAD found at least 124 instances of drag events being protested, threatened, or attacked this year in 47
By weird,
states.
sick,
The report
fucking
also found a total of 8 proposed bills
white
this year
guys.
aiming to ban or restrict drag performances. To discuss these threats and the legislation and rhetoric targeting LGBTQ people, I'm joined by GLAAD President and CEO Sarah Kate Ellis. Sarah Kate, welcome to the News Hour. Thank you for joining us. For those unfamiliar, can you explain a little bit about the culture of drag and the place that it holds in the LGBTQ community?
Sure. So drag has long been a place of joy, of protest, of expression. It's really an art form.
Yes.
And it's been a sacred space, actually. It's been a place where we've gathered as family, as friends, and it's been a place of joy. And now it's a place of terror, quite frankly.
Thank you.
It really has changed dramatically in a very short period of time.
When you started hearing some of this political rhetoric of people accusing people of grooming at these drag storytime events, what did you think?
I was honestly surprised by it. We had heard that rhetoric before around marriage equality when we were fighting for marriage equality, and I thought it was done there, quite frankly. But over this past year, what we've seen is a very quick and steady assault against the LGBTQ community, both in words and in actions. And I think it really started during the legislative session this past year when we saw over 300 anti-LGBTQ bills. And we saw that starting to get traction and build and build and build. And so a lot of that was against trans youth too. So really targeting the targets that have been from against our community have been around trans, youth in our community, and now the drag community in our community.
You mentioned in that report those 124 instances, protests and attacks that you have tracked. You've also said it's likely an undercount. But just give us a sense of what are we talking about with protests and attacks? You said there's terror in the community now. Why?
I think because of all of this rhetoric that we're seeing, there have been so many articles, mentions, and talk about the LGBTQ community in a really negative, nasty way. And what happens here is that social media goes unchecked and it takes those lies and that disinformation and it spreads it like wildfire.
Yes, it does, because it is a real thing. It is a very real thing that the content that you view on social media from whatever platform that you're on, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, it will start to curate a specific set of algorithms for you. And if you're somebody who is constantly looking into the terror and the idea that LGBTQ people are abhorrent and crazy, if the only thing you look at is that, it's going to feed you more of that. And it's going to create a false perception of reality in which you think these people are dangerous when really you are being groomed yourself. Let's talk about grooming. You're being groomed yourself to be extremely hateful and a dangerous, violent person yourself.
It stirs up people and creates this environment that is very deadly. And I think, it's really interesting because we started doing this count right.
So Yoga Nature says, are medical professionals protected for a future suing if they practice in gender matters? No, they're not. They're not. That's another part of this legislation, is that it's further saying that any medical professional that helps a child transition in any medical way whatsoever, they are labeled as child abusers. They are literally labeled as people who abuse children when literally they're just providing medical care. This is a conversation that has some more depth to it, but we're going to just put a bookmark in that and get back to this.
Before Colorado Springs happened, because we realized that if you pulled back and you looked at it holistically, there were so many attacks against the drag community that it wasn't these isolated instances. It actually was a coordinated effort against the drag community, against the LGBTQ community. And right before that mass shooting happened in Colorado Springs at Club Q, all of a sudden it all came together that there were 124 attacks and protests against drag events. And these events, just so you know, are light and fun. Like for my family during COVID, we did drag bingo on Zoom as a holiday event so that we all could get together and have some fun and some laughs and joy in a really dark time. These are really fun events. And I think that now they're terrorizing us so that we're scared, but we'll never back down. We'll never back down. We'll never stop having drag events.
When you talk about the attacks and the threats specifically on these drag story time events, is it fair to link those to the ramped up rhetoric that we've seen from far right Republicans?
Absolutely. You can see a direct link from what the far right Republicans are saying to what's happening on social media, because what happens on social media then is that it gets repeated, amplified, and spread, and people start to organize attacks on social media against these drag events. You can actually, we just put somebody, put a person that is specifically LGBTQ focused in the Center for Extremism with the ADL, with the Anti-Defamation League, because we can see direct links from what's being said from politicians to what then is said online to then what the attacks on our community. So yes, there's a direct line, and it's really sad. And these politicians understand that that people accept LGBTQ people. The vast majority of Americans
They really do
accept LGBTQ people, and they're trying to use us as political pawns to inflate their career, to raise money for all their well-being, and with lies and and disinformation.
The violence, of course, is a disturbing trend to see. Sarah Kate Ellis, CEO and President of GLAAD, we thank you for joining us to talk about it tonight.
So, I'm going to wrap this up. And again, I want to be very clear. It's going to be a very reoccurring theme this year from Mindful Monad, that the dark underbelly of all this sort of anti-LGBTQ legislation and just all of that, it really does stem from and is rooted in far right, sort of radicalized right-wing media, and more specifically Christian nationalism. And I don't like to say the word nationalism. I think it's more appropriate to say Christian fascism. Christian fascism is a very real threat. And it's just, it's going to punish a lot of people. And this is what I'm here for and what I'm speaking against. But anyways. To be continued. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today. I think it's been a very good Worldview Wednesday. This has been a very good subject and topic to discuss. And yeah, I'm really happy to have you all here. And yeah, so I'm bummed out. I need to decompress. I'm going to decompress. So on that note, let's say goodbye to everybody. And our next live stream will be on Friday. It'll be Friday night chat, and we're gonna get to the bottom of this stupid Christian cartoon that I've been banned for, apparently. And yeah, so I'm going to say goodbye to you all and say goodnight. And I want to go watch the new Mandalorian. Fuck yeah, bitches. New Mandalorian. Fuck yeah. That's what I'm gonna be doing right now. I have been waiting for this. Let's see. Thank you so much, Tyler Easy. I'm sorry. Tyler Easy, thank you so much for coming. Elise, thank you so much for coming. Laura, thank you so much for coming. And thank you so much. Very nice of you to say that. Philip and Susan and Mark and Cassie, thank you so much to our moderators in the house. If you would all like to drop links to your YouTube channel, so with Susan and Philip, there's the Hyperion source. If you want to know more about the Hyperion system directly, you should go hang out there. Mark does very excellent ASMR, very good philosophical, educational Hyperion stuff. Very recommend Mark. And Cassie's a very intelligent person and lovely artist. So I highly recommend you all go follow them. Please drop your links if you'd like. Fachita, thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate that. And if you have not liked the video yet, please do so. Likes, they really help. I really want to go watch Mandalorian now. I really want to go watch Mandalorian. Okay, thank you. Good night, everybody. I will see you Friday. I think tomorrow, Morg might be going live tomorrow. I think so. If so, I will see you in the chat then. So, anyways, take care, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you next time.